Hello everybody, my name is Elena. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about all of the books that I read in January. There's a total of 10 books. I did forget to calculate the star ratings or the average rating for the month, so I'll just put it somewhere on the screen and you can look at it for your own enjoyment because I don't have it with me right now. I read 3 books off of my physical TBR in January, so I feel like that was a pretty good win for me. First book that I read was actually a reread, and it was continuing my rereads from December because I reread a lot of books in December, and it's Fearless Like Us by Kristen Becker-Ritchie. This is I don't even know which book in the Like Us series. Okay, it's a really big series. It's the sequel series to the Calloway Sisters series. I feel like a broken record every time I say that because I say it in basically every video. Obviously it was a reread. This is Sully's second book. I was really excited to reread this one because I remember it being my favorite out of all of her books. And I still really enjoyed it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it the first time that I read it, but I didn't bump the rating down or anything because I still really liked it. So that one stays a 4.75 stars. And then I decided I wanted to dip my toes into Omegaverse again because if you don't know, I love the concept of Omegaverse and everything like that, but I can never find books that I like. This one I actually really liked, so I highly recommend if you want to try it. It's A Pack for Winter by Eliana Lee. This is, I think, the second book in this series. The previous book is called A Pack for Autumn, I think, and I will be reading that one as well, but I need to get in the mood to read Omegaverse. Obviously, I don't just pick it up whenever, like I need to be in the mood to read that type of thing. I actually really enjoyed this one, and I was really happy that I did because, again, I can never find an Omegaverse that I actually like. This one was kind of like a rom-com type of Omegaverse. It was spicy, but it wasn't too spicy, and it wasn't like any dark romance or anything. It was really fluffy. I remember the girl working as a kindergarten teacher or something like that, and then there's 3 other guys that she meets, and they just hit it off or whatever, and it was really fun. It was really fun. It was really cute. It was fluffy. Again, still spicy, but not too much spice, so I liked that. And I gave it a solid 4 stars. Then I read the first book from my physical TBR, and I actually have a vlog on this book. It's Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. If you haven't seen the reading vlog, I'll link it somewhere. It's spoiler-free, so you can go watch it whether you've read the book or not. This is the second book in the Ballinger Sisters series, and I really liked the first book, which is It Happened One Summer. And I didn't pick this up for the longest time until I bought it on vacation. So I had it on my physical TBR and I had to read it. I feel really conflicted about this book because it's not a bad book. I just don't think it's my vibe at all. And you'd think it would be because it's Friends to Lovers and I love Friends to Lovers. I don't think the characters had any chemistry. I'm so sorry. But again, I think that might just be me because they're not the type of characters that I like to root for. They're just not my type of vibe. Like, I more so prefer the characters in It Happened One Summer. I feel like they were supposed to be friends, but I don't even think the Friends to Lovers part was done very well. I feel like I didn't believe that they were friends and then they turned into lovers. I felt like they were acquaintances to lovers. I feel like that was more the term to use when describing this book. And there were some really good quotes inside. Like, I have one tabbed because I wanted to read it out to you. You're a surprise, Hannah. How could I hate them? Even familiar, you're a constant surprise. So it has some really good quotes in there, and I feel like you should give it a go if you didn't like It Happened One Summer because I feel like it's like completely different characters with a completely different premise. The way that the story is told is kind of similar, but I feel like if you didn't like It Happened One Summer, you might actually like this one. But do with that what you will. And if you want more thoughts on it, you can go watch the vlog. I'm done talking about this book. It's 3.25 stars. That's what I gave it. It was fine. And then I read another Omegaverse book, and I didn't realize it was by Eliana Lee, the same author that wrote A Pack for Winter, until I wrote down my list so I could talk about the books that I read in January. Did not realize it was the same author. It makes sense though, because I also really liked this one. I did like it less. I gave it 3.75 stars, and I should probably tell you what the book is called, shouldn't I? It's called The Scent of Us, Part 1. There is a Part 2. I won't be continuing reading it. However, this one was really cute. I don't really remember the premise of it, but it was cute, it was fun, and it did leave off on a good note for there to be a second book. I'm just not really interested in it. Like, my favorite character is Isaac in this, and you know he's my favorite character when I've remembered his name. Okay, that says a lot, because I can't remember names, and he's not really that present. So if my favorite character isn't that present, I don't really want to continue reading the books. However, I did really enjoy this one and I would highly recommend it. And then I read another book from my physical TBR, and this one was well anticipated. It was Things We Left Behind by Lucy Score. I did start reading this physically and then switched to the audiobook because I couldn't find the time to actually sit down and read. Because if you didn't know, I do have a puppy. And that is taking up a lot of my time. And I'm not taking care of her by myself, but it's still taking up a lot of time. So I didn't really have the time and the energy to sit down and actually flip through pages, so I just listened to the audiobook. Really liked this. I give it 4.75 stars, and at this point I've given all of the books in the Knock 'Em Out series the same rating. I love all the books for different reasons. Like, I would highly recommend the series. It's like small town, it's kind of suspenseful, like a little bit. It's really fun. This one is obviously second chance and enemies to lovers type of thing. I really liked this one. I really enjoyed it. I thought Lucian and Sloane had like really good chemistry, and I was anticipating their book since I read the first one because there you get crumbs of them throughout the whole series. Absolutely loved this, and as you can see, I went back and added tabs to some of my favorite scenes after I listened to the audiobook, so you know that I really enjoyed this book. And then I read a new release. Now, I was really excited to read this book, but also really scared because it's Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. This is the third book in the Empyrean series, which is the Fourth Wing series right here. We have Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm. I'm not gonna lie to you, the beginning of this book, I wanted to DNF it. It was horribly written. Like, the first 10%, horrible. I'm so sorry. The writing is so bad in the first 10%. I don't know what is happening. I don't know what happened. It got really good afterwards. I couldn't put the book down afterwards, but for some reason, the beginning was horrible. Maybe because I just wasn't in the mood to be back with the characters in this series, but like, I really could not keep up with what was going on. It was horrible. I don't know what happened. However, it did get a lot better, so that's a plus. I'm finding that as the book goes along, I know a lot of people are more obsessed with the main couple as the books go along. I'm finding that I'm losing interest in them. So I have a little friend in front of my door. She wants to come in. This is why I can't film sit-down videos in my room anymore, y'all. I'm sorry. I find that I'm losing interest in the main couple as the books go along. However, my favorite characters are still alive and well. I won't tell you which ones they are because that would spoil the whole book, wouldn't it? But I really liked the ending of this book, actually, and I feel like it sets up the next book really well. And I ended up giving it 4.25 stars. And if you were curious, I gave Fourth Wing 4.75 stars. I gave Iron Flame 4.5 stars, and this one is 4.25 stars. So as the series goes along, it's kind of going downwards. However, I'm still really enjoying it, and obviously I'll continue reading the series. But yeah, it was a really rocky start. Like, I almost DNF'd it. Thank God I didn't, but I almost did. And then I decided to read another romantasy series because I was in the mood to read a romantasy, and I decided to pick up The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I read this on my Kindle first, and then I bought the physical copies. I started off this book really liking it. The beginning of this book, amazing, show-stopping. Really enjoyed it, really liked the characters, the writing right off the bat. And then as the book went along, I didn't know how I would feel. I was really conflicted. Like, I've never felt about a book like this, ever, I feel like, because some parts I really like and some parts I don't like. And I didn't really vibe with the ending of this first book, even though I did continue reading the series. However, I still enjoyed it. I gave this a solid 4 stars. And obviously, it had some amazing quotes in it, which is why I wanted to have the physical copies. The writing is absolutely beautiful. And then I went and read the second book because I didn't like the ending of the second book. I didn't like the ending of the first book, so I listened to the second book on audiobook. But I actually ended up preferring it. I gave it 4.25 stars instead of 4 stars. And then I bought the physical copy, obviously. Again, really good quotes. It made me sob so many times. I feel like I hold this series really near and dear to my heart for some reason, even though I'm not, like, completely obsessed with the couple or the characters or whatever. There was just something about this series, that touched something in me, and it evoked certain emotions that I really like, I can't explain, so I'm very much enthralled by this series. And then I read the novella, which I didn't think I was gonna read, but at the end of the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King audiobook, there's a snippet of the audiobook for Six Scorched Roses. There's like a chapter or two. I devoured them because like I said, I wasn't planning on reading the novella. And then when I listened to those 2 chapters, I was like, well, fuck, I guess now I have to read the novella. I gave it 5 stars. I gave it 5 stars. I absolutely love this novella. I love Vale. I love everything about this book. It's amazing. It's show-stopping. It's spectacular. I've never read a better novella before in my life. Like, it's literally so good. And you can read it as a standalone. If you don't want to read the other 2 books, you don't have to. You can just read that as a standalone. It's literally so good. And the last book that I read in January was another book from my TBR, and it continues a series. It's These Infinite Threads by Tahereh Mafi. This was a letdown. I still enjoyed it. I listened to it on audiobook. I gave it 3.75 stars. However, the first book I gave 4.75 stars and absolutely adored. This one, really rocky. I can't even tell you what I didn't like about this book. I just didn't. It really pissed me off, to be completely honest with you. And I saw a review, and I don't know where I saw it. I don't know if it was on YouTube or on TikTok, but someone described this book as, it felt like the book ends right before the climax of an actual book. That's exactly what this feels like. It feels like we had like a build-up, and right before the climax, the book just ends. And yeah, there's a 3rd book. I'm not gonna read it, to be completely honest with you. I'm just gonna stop reading the series. And those are the 10 books that I read in January. Overall, it was a pretty good reading month. Again, I don't have the average rating with me, so I'm guessing by the ratings that it was pretty good. And considering I was feeling slumpy, I feel like I did a good job reading from my physical TBR and reading other books that I wanted to and catching up on new releases. I didn't get to 1 book. I wanted to read Beg, Borrow, and Steal by Sarah Adams. I didn't get to read it. I also don't know if I'm going to read it in February, but I will read it at some point because it is one of my most anticipated releases. That is another video on my channel if you want to go watch that. But I didn't get to that one. But I'm very proud of myself that I got to Onyx Storm and that I read 3 books from my physical TBR. Because if you didn't know, one of my goals for this year is to read my entire physical TBR, and I'm not buying any new unread books until I read all the books that are on my book cart. So that's a project for this year. Thank you so much for watching. You can like, comment, subscribe if you'd like, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.